report button to speak.
All right, we are driverless again, back in San Francisco. This is the way that you have to get around in San Francisco. Making the turn on to Lombard. Gonna head up this way to Nob Hill, and we're gonna talk about the 49ers and their backup quarterback. They've addressed so many needs so far during this period of free agency, but one of them that I don't think they have addressed yet is QB2. Now, it is possible that Brandon Allen ends up QB2, and I think the path to that would be the 49ers going to the draft or undrafted free agency for another quarterback, and in that case, I think that you would have Allen as the backup at least to begin the season as the rookie learns the ropes. But the 49ers can also pick up a veteran to make this work. And, there are several opportunities, obviously, but I think we saw this past season that San Francisco might be in the quarterback reputation rehab business. And Sam Darnold successfully rehabbed his reputation with the 49ers. He's probably going to get a chance to start with the Minnesota Vikings, a legitimate $10 million deal. He played for about $4 to $5 million plus incentives with the 49ers. He didn't meet most of those incentives because Brock Purdy stayed healthy over the course of the season. But the narrative around Sam Darnold changed over his time with the 49ers. And that's what happens when you play behind Brock Purdy, one of the best quarterbacks in the game. That's what happens when you're in Kyle Shanahan's building. That's what happens when Brian Griese is your quarterback's coach. Brian Griese, in a very short time, has developed a reputation as one of the best quarterback coaches in the league. And that's what happens when you've seen the best football from Jimmy Garoppolo under your watch, when you've obviously developed Brock Purdy, when Trey Lance turned from a very raw prospect to somebody who was operating the pro-style offense at a respectable level during training camp. I mean, a lot of good stuff has happened under Brian Griese. So I think that the 49ers are a desirable destination for a quarterback that has a lot of physical talent but has flamed out so far. So it's in the title. You guys know who I'm going to mention. It's Zach Wilson of the New York Jets. Zach Wilson has not been good for the New York Jets. The Jets obviously have Aaron Rodgers. I think they're probably over the Zach Wilson experience. But it was just in 2021, and we've been talking about 2021 and that draft because Justin Fields just got traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was just in 2021 when I know so many 49ers fans and so many league executives were downright fawning over Zach Wilson and the physical talent that they saw at BYU. I was never one of those people. I'll proudly say that. I thought that it was ridiculous that people saw a deep throw against air at a pro day and believed that should make a number 2 pick. But apparently the Jets thought that was enough. Other teams probably thought that would have been enough, and Wilson was picked at number 2. He hasn't been good with the Jets, but I also don't think that the Jets have been a particularly appetizing setup for any quarterback. And Sam Darnold was also with the Jets before Zach Wilson as a premier pick. Wasn't Sam Darnold number 2 overall? I think he might have been number 3 overall, but he was still a top elite pick. He wasn't good with the Jets. Sam Darnold wasn't good with the Panthers until his final 6 games. Came to the 49ers. His reputation was broken. The setup that I talked about fixed Sam Darnold's reputation. Can the same thing happen with somebody like Zach Wilson? And would the 49ers be interested? By the way, look at this car. That's not a red light, by the way. It was a red light. I'm not going to lie, but it was a yellow light when Casper entered the intersection. And now we're going to be going steep up the hill. We're on Lombard. I was really hoping that this car would go down the crooked part of Lombard, but it looks like we're actually going to be turning. And we got 4 minutes to go. So anyway, Zach Wilson, he's owed about, I would say, $5.5 million. He's a first-round pick, so that contract is all guaranteed. I'm sure that if the Jets could, they would trade him. But I don't know if anybody wants to trade for that big of a contract. It's again, they would owe him as a first-round pick $5.4 million. That is steep for a QB who has really struggled. The 5th-year option is also there. I think the 5th-year option is irrelevant until Zach Wilson proves that he could play better football. What can potentially happen, though, here is the Jets might release Zach Wilson if they've truly given up on him and they value the extra roster spot more than the dead money hit. The Jets can theoretically release Zach Wilson, in which case you would have a situation that's similar to the one with the other Wilson, Russell Wilson, albeit with less money. But Russell Wilson had guaranteed money, a lot of it on his deal left with the Denver Broncos. They released him, and now the Pittsburgh Steelers have signed Russell Wilson at the league minimum, while the Denver Broncos are paying for 90+% of his salary. Something similar can happen with Zach Wilson if the New York Jets release him. We're entering Russian Hill in San Francisco. I've got recommendations for you. Leopold's right there, the place on the corner. Really good German place. You could drink beer out of a boot at Leopold's, so that's a good spot. And then here, back when I used to live in this neighborhood, this Alhambra, it's an old theater. There's actually a gym in the old theater, so you work out with like movies playing or Niners games playing on the big screen. It's really cool. We're gonna be turning now and going up the hill, kind of probably going by my old apartment here in San Francisco. This place Split used to be there as well. Anyway, there's another driverless car, and here are people crossing the sidewalk. You can see how good of a job these Waymos do. They're Jaguars, by the way. Jaguars, I guess I should say. They're Eric Armstead's team now. They do a good job letting people cross the street as we climb up Nob Hill. So anyway, you could theoretically get in a situation where the Jets are paying Zach Wilson most of his salary, and you're only paying him the minimum. I used to live on this street. I used to live on Larkin. And that Italian restaurant, Amarena, a little corner cafe, really, really good food. We're going to go by Frascati, too. Also nice. I mean, this is awesome. What a little golden hour drive in San Francisco. So there's Frascati. Frascati, I guess. I don't know. Seven Hills. Potential cable car sighting here. Maybe. No, maybe not. But those are the cable car tracks. We're almost there. So that's my thought for the 49ers is the quarterback 2. They have gone with a very talented option before that had been a bit of a flame out. That was Sam Darnold. 49ers have the ability to be that kind of football team that develops quarterbacks behind their elite quarterback in Brock Purdy. They have the infrastructure to do it, and they definitely want to have 3 quarterbacks on this football team, because you could use the third quarterback rule that way and you don't run into quarterback hell like the 49ers did with those injuries back in the 2022 season. So it's a thought. Zach Wilson might be available. I don't think the 49ers would want to trade for him, because if you trade for him, you have to inherit that super, super expensive contract relative to how good Zach Wilson has been, which is not very good. But if the Jets do release him, then the 49ers might be able to get a sweet deal, kind of like the Steelers are getting with the other Wilson, Russell Wilson. So that is the quarterback thought. We'll see what the 49ers end up doing with their backup quarterback situation. And hell, I'm going to get out of the car and show you guys the sunset here in San Francisco. So we're not going to really end the video, even though we are pulling over now. This is how it works when you finish one of these rides. Car finds a spot to pull over.
You're here.
It tells me that I'm here and I can get out. I got to make sure I have all my stuff. I actually have my backpack in the back, so give me a second. This is another good restaurant, by the way, Serafina. All right, we've got our backpack. We close the door and we say goodbye to the car. Let's go see a good view here in San Francisco. Like I told you, it's sunset right now. Serafina, formerly Allegro Romano. Good Italian food. There you go. It's really windy right now, so I'm sure you might have trouble hearing me. But we'll take advantage of golden hour and the sights here at the top of Russian Hill. If you have any questions and you can hear me, go ahead and ask them. And I'll try to answer as we go to the viewpoint right now. You're gonna get a nice shot of the city from up here. Got a couple people up there. Go for Broke thinks the 49ers are going to pick up an undrafted free agent as quarterback number 3. They're only paying Brandon Allen $1.5 million this year. All right, I'm going to go ahead and be quiet so I don't disturb these people.
Maybe one a little bit. Do you want one closer? Closer, maybe a little.